Five weird and grotesque archaeological finds. Number 5. The alien skulls of Mexico. 25 human skulls were found in a mass grave in Mexico with long skulls making them look like aliens. Mexican villagers were digging into the ground when they found a mass grave, filled with 25 ancient corpses. Around half of the bodies had freakishly long skulls. Although some people were quick to suggest that the bodies were those of aliens, researchers believe that the skulls were reshaped on purpose, while their owners were still alive. Children in the Central American cultures of 1,000 years ago had their skulls forced into odd shapes from a young age. Their heads were bound with flat boards, which put enormous pressure on their skulls. The pressure forced the bone tissue to grow upwards rather than outwards, resulting in something that looks a lot like an alien. Number 4. King Louis XVI's blood. The blood of this murdered French king was found on a handkerchief, proving that people took mementos from his execution place. The remains of a handkerchief from the French Revolution is soaked with the blood of King Louis XVI, scientists have found. Legend has it that when the king was killed in 1792, people rushed forward and dipped their handkerchiefs in his blood, a story which seems to be true, now that the blood stains have been shown to be his. DNA testing didn't prove anything until the handkerchief was compared to a mummified head that probably belonged to King Henry IV, a direct ancestor of King Louis. Both of the finds, the head and the blood, were verified at exactly the same time. Number 3. The Iceman. This ancient ice corpse was discovered with perfectly preserved blood, the oldest in the world. In 1991, a group of hikers were trekking in the mountains of Austria when they came across an awful sight. A frozen body was buried in the ice at their feet. That body belonged to a 5,300-year-old man, later dubbed Otzi the Iceman. By studying the body, scientists have been able to discover some surprisingly specific facts. When he was alive, he had parasites in his intestines, was lactose intolerant, and had been sick 3 times in the past 6 months. But his death seems to have been caused by a narrow wound to his back, leading some scientists to believe that he was chased across the mountains. Number 2. Megawatt Graveyard. Giant wombats were found in an Australian mass grave with 20-foot-long poisonous lizards and mega kangaroos. Wombats may well be some of the cutest animals on Earth, but their ancestors were the stuff nightmares are made of. These ancient wombats were something like a cross between a rhinoceros and a grizzly bear. In 2012, Australian scientists found a mass grave filled with about 50 mega-wombat skeletons. They were about the size of a Volvo, could weigh as much as 3.1 tons, and had a pouch large enough to hold a small human. Number 1. Amenhotep's Book of the Dead. Missing pages of this famous book are still showing up in unexpected places. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is one of the most famous books containing spells to be used in the afterlife. Rather than being a single book, it is more of a concept. The spells were usually written on the walls and on the bodies of the deceased. Upper-class Egyptians were also given a papyrus scroll with the spells written on it, which would allow them to journey through the afterlife.